Hello there. Can you adjust the truss rod of your guitar or bass without first avoiding it and then being terrified when finally doing it? Well, for some reason you're not alone. A lot of players feel the same way, even though of all guitar adjustments, this is the one every player should master. And you don't need to be scared of learning it either. It's easy. Today I will teach you to adjust your guitar truss rod, be it Gibson, Fender, Ibanez, Yamaha, whatever brand, as long as the truss rod adjusting nut is located at the headstock. It is there if you can see either a hole, a nut, or a little cover here behind the nut. If you don't see anything here, no adjusting nut at the headstock, it might also be located at the body end of the neck, sometimes visible and adjustable without removing the neck, such as in Music Man guitars or others. And in those cases, this video is still completely valid for you, so don't go anywhere. If, however, you have a vintage style Fender instrument or similar that requires the neck to be removed for truss rod adjustment, this video might be helpful to you. My name is Ruokangas and this is the episode 8 of my Zen and the Art of Guitar Maintenance tutorials. Let's go! Well, how to tell when should you adjust the truss rod? Let's say your guitar was all fine until yesterday, no issues whatsoever, comfy action, no fret buzz. But today you picked up the guitar and it's not right. The guitar feels awkward. The strings sit higher from the frets, hard to play, or the frets are buzzing like crazy. If you notice these symptoms, that is when, in most cases, truss rod adjustment is the way to go. I know many of you would like to raise or lower the bridge first because it feels logical and maybe an easier job than the truss rod, but no. Do not touch the bridge adjustments. The bridge has not moved anywhere on its own. Before we grab the tools and start working, let me explain the terms tightening and loosening, as I notice people are often quite confused about what is what. So in a guitar, the strings, they pull the neck with a pretty strong force, typically strong enough to bow the neck slightly upwards, like this. And the point of having a truss rod in the first place inside the neck is to introduce a counter force to the strings. The strings pull the neck up, and with the truss rod we can pull it back down. Now that's only half the story. A modern two-way truss rod can do more than that, but the factual differences between one-way and two-way truss rod I will reveal to you in another video, okay? All right, let's begin. Right, so here we have the tools, a string winder, a few different types of truss rod keys, because I'm going to be demonstrating here the adjusting procedure with a few different types of guitars to give you guys a little bit better overview of what's going on here. Here I have a screwdriver, a Phillips 1 screwdriver. That's a little bit smaller one. I'll be using it to open the truss rod cover plate with. I also have a capo here. You'll see in a minute what I'll be doing with that. And this device is called a feeler gauge. Not something that you necessarily need to own, but it helps me to illustrate better the correct relief, the correct amount of relief, the position of the truss rod in a while. And a tuner device. That's about all we need. So very first I'm feeling the guitar a bit. I'm checking out the action, feeling how the guitar feels to play. And I'm detecting a bit of fret buzz on the first frets, which might indicate that the truss rod is too tight, meaning that there is not enough relief, the neck. And I'm using here the low E string as a straight edge. And here bringing in the capo, doing the exactly same thing as I was doing a second ago without it. So I'm pressing in from the last fret, the low E string, and the capo is pressing from the first fret, like so. And I'm checking from the middle. So I'm using the low E string as a straight edge, and here we see that the string is laying flat on the frets, also in the middle, which tells us that the truss rod is too tight.
It's dead. The neck is dead straight, and this causes buzz on, especially on the lowest frets. So what on earth am I doing here? Well, a little tip, maybe not an essential one, but might be helpful for some of you. I made a little handle out of masking tape, so when I remove the truss rod cover plate, it won't slide down the headstock, and I can neatly just lift it off in a controlled manner. Maybe not so necessary in this particular guitar. It's a worn down lacquer with scratches already on it, but imagine here a high gloss piano black headstock surface, and you let the truss rod cover plate slide down, with some dust particles and dirt underneath it and scratching up your headstock. So that's not nice. So here I have the truss rod key. It has two different hex wrenches in the same key. This particular one, in this end, a 7mm key used for Ibanez guitars and lots of others. And today we're going to be using the other one, the slightly bigger one, an inch size correct for the Gibson truss rod nut. So I'll be sliding in the key to its place. And right, so we are loosening the truss rod. Loosening. Remember, loosening meaning counterclockwise. Tightening clockwise, loosening counterclockwise. It's good to remember when you're opening a bottle, you're opening cork, you're loosening the cork counterclockwise, you're tightening the cork clockwise. It's the same thing here. So we're going to be loosening here, a quarter turn, and my hunch tells me that this would be about enough for this particular neck, but for demonstrational purposes, I'm loosening it a little bit more. You will realize in a minute what happened just now. Right, so addressing a little stubborn myth here. It's often thought that and claimed that you need to loosen the strings in order to adjust the truss rod. But this is not correct. I mean, if you have access to the truss rod nut without loosening the strings, without removing a neck of a bolt-on guitar, it's not necessary to loosen the tension. You can just leave the strings to pitch and go on and adjust it. It's perfectly safe to do it this way. So just you can relax and sleep well. After adjusting, you haven't done any harm to your guitar, even with the tension on. So here I'm demonstrating with another type of instrument. Most modern bolt-on neck guitars would have the truss rod located at the headstock end of the neck. In this particular case, we're going to be using a 4mm key, like in all our guitars built in the past 20 plus years. So I'm going to be placing the key in its place and loosening. So I just pulled the strings aside, didn't loosen them or anything, just pulled them aside. And yet another type of scenario showing here, our unicorn guitar, similar with the Les Paul, but you can't see any nut there. So there's just a hole. So I'll be using a little bit different key, a longer 4mm key that slips in there. So just find the right spot. I could also be using a T-handle hex wrench, 4mm wrench, like so, to adjust it with. Here a reminder, tightening clockwise, loosening counterclockwise. So here we go, putting in the key and loosening slightly. Simple as that. And yet another type of scenario, we happen to have this left-handed Martin guitar at the shop. Okay, it doesn't have the strings on, but imagine they are there. Imagine they are tuned to pitch. You just kind of push them aside with your hand when adjusting the truss rod. Introducing here yet another type of a truss rod key. And the reason why I wanted to show this is that even though the truss rod is located at the other end, the body end of the guitar, there are electric guitars like this as well, like Music Man guitars, they have the spokes wheel that we kind of visible at the end of the neck, where you can go ahead and adjust it. So I'm placing in here the key into the socket like so. And again, the same thing, counterclockwise, loosening. The same thing. Doesn't matter in which end of the neck the truss rod adjustment is located. As long as you're just looking directly to the nut, towards the nut, and thinking clockwise, counterclockwise, that's it. Okay, so back with the Les Paul. Right now I'm tuning the guitar to pitch, because after loosening the truss rod, it also affects the tuning of the guitar. So I'll just double check that we're in pitch. And after that, I'll check the relief again, like so. And the same thing with the capo. I understand it's a bit of repetition here coming to you guys, but better safe than sorry, right? So again, the capo pressing from the first fret, and I'm pressing with my right hand from the last fret and checking from the middle using the low E string as a straight edge. And here we can see quite a bit of relief right now. This is too much. This is too much. So I'm going to be tightening a bit. There we go. About a quarter of a turn tighter, if even that. Tuning the pitch again, because tightening the truss rod might mean that or it actually always means that the guitar is now slightly sharp, so I need to down tune tiny bit. And checking the relief again. Same procedure as already many times. Repetition. Also with the capo. Demonstrated right there. Pressing from my right hand with my right hand. Checking from the middle. And now guys, pay attention when we go to the close-up. There. That right there looks pretty good. I would say it's about 0.2 millimeters where I kind of headed it to be. And let's double check with my feeler gauge. I have here the 0.2 thickness feeler. And I'm going to be placing it right down between the string and the fret. Right, so we can see that it just about snugly fits in between the fret and the string. So I would say we're pretty close to 0.2 millimeter relief, which I'm happy with. Pay attention. Let me show you how quick it is in real life to adjust the truss rod. It is much faster than the video suggests that you've been now watching, because in real life, when you're familiar with what you're doing and with the guitar that you're adjusting the truss rod doesn't take a long time at all. Let me show you. So I'm holding the guitar in playing position on my lap. It's plugged in to the tuner device, which is already switched on. Let's remove also the capo. I won't be needing that. I'll just place in the truss rod adjusting key, the wrench to its location right there. And I'll just go ahead and check the relief. And I notice that it needs a bit of adjusting. And for demonstrational purposes, I'll do the same a couple of times back and forth. So I'm actually using more time than it would take ideally here. So when I'm happy with the truss rod, see, right, I'm happy with the truss rod, so I'll just quickly check the tuning of the guitar to make sure it's what I want. And a quick check, and we're done. It took like half a minute, if even that. Right, so let's install the truss rod cover plate. A quick note here, these two screws that hold the truss rod cover plate of a Gibson Les Paul in place, they're tiny little screws, and be very careful to not over tighten them, because you will likely, over tightening, you will either break the truss rod cover plate and or you will break the threading of the wood. There's not a whole lot of threading in there, so when you tighten them, just about snugly, but not one bit more. Okay, just about enough to keep them in place, but no need to tighten them very much. Just saying, been there, done that many enough times. Last but not least, I would like to address the fact that truss rod adjustment is something that doesn't necessarily show its full effect immediately. In other words, we've just loosened the truss rod of this particular instrument, and it might happen that within a couple of days we notice that, oh, the action is a bit higher than we set it to be. And this would just indicate that the neck has reacted a bit slow to our adjustment, and we need to kind of tweak it back, tighten it back a tiny bit. This delayed effect is more likely if you had to adjust the neck a lot. With minor adjustments, typically the effect is immediate, but it's just something good for you guys to know that it might happen. Some guitars react slower than others. Feeling the guitar again, liking it. Plays as it should.
All right, job well done. So, summarizing here, if your guitar was good a while back, but it changed bad on its own without you meddling with any adjustments, then now after adjusting the truss rod, it should be good again. When doing a full setup to a guitar, meaning you change a fresh set of strings, you clean up the guitar, you check all the adjustments, this one, the truss rod adjustment, it is the first adjustment you do, always. Why? Because if the truss rod is adjusted wrong, all the following adjustments will be wrong as well. In other words, when the truss rod is adjusted correctly, after that it's time to tweak the action, the pickup height, the intonation, and so on. So memorize this. If you have a problem with too high action, too low action, fret buzz, what to do first? Truss rod.
Truss rod.
Okay, what if there's a problem? Say, if it seems that the truss rod doesn't do what it's supposed to do. You've loosened it all the way, but there's still no good relief, as we just learned. Well, this is the time to take the guitar to a pro repair shop. And regarding the rest of the steps of a full guitar setup, we will cover all that in the future episodes of Zen and the Art of Guitar Maintenance. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace, love, and good music.